today. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow me on Twitter at Josh Engleman. Shout out to Prize Picks, sponsor of this show. If you haven't signed up there yet, you should. Link in the description of this video if you want to do that. We'll talk about them in a little bit, along with our MLB DFS package. It's good to see everybody here, though. Nice to get the old day started. I can't imagine we're going to have a big crew watching this bad boy Easter Sunday, 10 a.m. Would have been really cool to not have this show. But here we are, talking NBA DFS on Easter Sunday. So I got soccer on. I got basketball to talk about. Waiting on some ownership so we could run some sims. We're not going to dig into this one in the biggest way possible. Might be a more tame version of this show. But for now, I think that we should get into it. I'll run some sims. Once that ownership comes in, I'll go back, run my stuff. We'll take a look back through everything, but we can get a pretty good look at where we are right now. And we will start it off. Lakers, 5.5-point favorites in Brooklyn. This one has a 225 total. Lakers, as usual, Q-tag Anthony Davis, Q-tag LeBron James, Q-tag Gabe Vincent. Should be getting him back shortly. Doesn't ever hurt to get another rotational body back. Not a lot to like here for the Lakers. I've got AD 34th overall. I have D'Angelo Russell 40th, LeBron even further back in this spot. A little bit of a pace down matchup for the Lakers. Lakers have been third in pace lately. Brooklyn, not so much. They are 20th. So I'm not anticipating getting to a lot of the Lakers. I think if you're going anywhere, it's AD and it's D'Angelo Russell. But I don't think that either guy is going to be looking like a major priority. The power forward eligibility does help for Anthony Davis. I just don't think that this is the spot we're going to be getting to the most level of exposure. All right. NBA ownership just went through 23 seconds ago. So I'm going to drop that into my sheet now. That's the wrong column. We'll get ownership in, and then I could run my sims and we can get a nice look at what we're trying to do for this lovely Sunday slate. If you're playing baseball as well, we've got a great slate that locks at 1 o'clock, so you don't want to miss that. Make sure you're getting in for whatever DFS you're trying to play. With PGA, I believe, is already locked. But we got a lot going on. It's a fun Sunday. It's a very fun Sunday. So I'm going to hop over, generate my contest in the stochastic sims. Very, very easy to do. 5,000 lineup pool, import my personal projections, and then I let it rip. Del Toro, go Arsenal. I mean, more than go City, that's for sure. More than go City. Obviously, I'm cheering for the draw. Less points for both of you, but I need the dub here. It doesn't really matter. If we can't beat Brighton today, nothing really matters. We can't afford to have anything other than immediate dubs. Ooh, Orange Dreamsicle Frosties now available at Wendy's. That sounds good. Ooh, PGA Showdown hasn't locked yet. Well, still get in if you want to. All right. Player pool has been put together. I'm going to export that information. Liverpool about to get started in the second half, so I'm about to see how well I can do two things at once. And if I had to guess, it's not going to go well. But we'll have some fun one way or the other. Let's get my projections in. Stochastic Sims tool, man, if you haven't used it yet, you really should try and get in behind the paywall, whether it's for baseball, NBA, MMA, golf, NASCAR. We got a lot going on. I love the tool. It works fantastically each day. certainly has made me a better player. I think you guys would greatly appreciate using the stochastic sims. You're going to be a better DFS player if you do so. Sign up using the links in the description. All right, projections saved. Yeah, happy Easter, y'all. Not something I really celebrate, but happy for those that do. This is a kid's holiday for me, and I don't have them. So for me, I don't really do anything. I'm going to hang out, watch some sports, enjoy the day. You got kids? I would imagine they love it. All right, projections are simulating. I'm going to hop back over and we can start talking about Brooklyn. Now, the Brooklyn side of this one is very different because they get the pace up spot against the Lakers, and it's only a mid-tier Lakers defense. So I have Brooklyn gaining 3 possessions over their average. That's usually a pretty big bump, and you can see it coming out in the value numbers for Brooklyn. I've got Nick Claxton as the second best play on the slate, ignoring position. I've got Bridges top 10. I've got Cam Thomas top 10. Dennis Schroeder knocking on the door of top 10. Looks like we're getting Cam Johnson back for this one. He is questionable. Everybody else that's normally available here is available for Brooklyn. But this is going to be a spot where we get a lot of exposure. It's just too good of a matchup for Brooklyn on paper. I'm expecting to see pretty heavy exposure when I export my lineups post-sim. Now I'm going to have a couple pretty extreme values, it seems, because I've got some pretty sizable pre-lock ROIs. But if I export my lineups, you guys can see my top lineups on the screen right now. Sean, no, I mean, you can. There's no like right or wrong way to use the boost. It's all sort of just personal opinion. So like if you put it in for 10 the first time, unless you mean like, are they additive? So if you put it in for 10, you have to put it in for like 20 if you want 10 more. It's not 10 boost and then the same, like a 10 again. You would need to go from 10 to 20 to accomplish, I think, what you're asking me. Yeah. It doesn't like keep stacking on top of each other. You want to put whatever number you want in there. All right, I've got my lineups simulated. I've got them loaded into my sim workbook. It looks like I'm going to be trying to get to a couple different guys in a very weird way, but we'll discuss that later. Now we've got lineups to look at. And just to hop back to the Lakers so you guys can see it, I got to 7% of AD, couple shares of Russell, couple shares of LeBron James. Just not a lot going on. Brooklyn, way different. 20% of Cam Thomas for me. 2xing Dennis Schroeder. 25% Claxton at 6% ownership. 17% Bridges at 8% ownership. 16% Dorian Finney-Smith at 7% ownership. I'm taking a big, big stand on the Brooklyn Nets. And I get it. I like this matchup for them. I know the Lakers are going for, whatever they could possibly do because of where they stand in like the playoff realm, but I want to get to this Brooklyn team more than I want to get to anything else. I mean, that's a lot of exposure for me. As of right now, the Brooklyn Nets are my second most exposed team on today's slate, and I'm about 2x the field everywhere. Claxton, Bridges, Dorian Finney-Smith, Schroeder, Cam Thomas. The whole starting five. I think Cam Johnson's kind of sneaky too, depending on whether or not he starts. We don't totally know what this lineup is going to look like today, but I want all of it. I want all of it from Brooklyn. As far as I'm concerned, great GPP plays on an 8-game slate. I think that's the best way to look at them. I'm going to wait it out a little. Let's get through the Clippers-Charlotte game, and then I'll go through Lakers and Brooklyn using the stochastic sim and the site projections. Clippers are 15-point favorites in Charlotte. This one's rough, but we kind of have to like the Clippers at least a little bit. Nobody on the injury report for the Clippers today. Charlotte looks a little bit different. Bertans available, but Poku is questionable. Clippers are getting about 10 to 15% ownership on Zubats, Harden, Kawhi, and Paul George. I'm not getting to these guys. Clippers are 30th in pace right now. Charlotte 27th. Now, obviously, they're not very good defensively, but this is a slow matchup. I got to Zoo and very little else. This doesn't feel like a spot where you get a full game out of Harden, Leonard, and Paul George. You just kind of play this one in cruise control. They're the biggest favorites on the slate. This game has the second lowest total on the slate. And they're in Charlotte. Like, this should just be a bludgeoning. So I personally am not getting to a lot of the Clippers. I don't really see them as viable as maybe the ownership is showing. Let's see what the stochastic sims have to say about the first game. We just finished this off now. This is stochastic sim, stochastic projections. Lakers, we actually did get to a little bit of AD here. 17% exposure, about 5% of LeBron. Not surprised. Like, if you're getting to anything, you want to get to LeBron. Now, let's see if the Brooklyn side lines up with me. Oh, I just didn't type that in correctly. Not really. 12% to Cam Thomas, 10% to Schroeder, and basically nothing else for the rest of these guys. So I'm definitely on an island when it comes to the Brooklyn Nets today. I'm okay with it. Favorite GPP team today, Brooklyn Nets. Put it down, lock that one in. Now, as we go to Charlotte, 10% ownership to Poku, 10 to Brandon Miller, around 10 to Misic, just shy of it for Mann, for Bridges. We're scattering a lot of ownership here for Charlotte today. And that's kind of how I see it. I'm getting all of these guys, but, no more than 16% of Poku. Just north of 10 for Brandon Miller, just north of 10 for Grant Williams, north of 10 for Miles Bridges. I like pieces of Charlotte, but just filler. Like, you get one of these random guys in a lineup and you probably feel okay about it. We'll see how the stochastic sims treat this Clippers matchup. I'm guessing we like the Clippers a little bit more here. Yeah, 24% exposure coming in to Ivica Zubats, a little over 10 to Paul George and Kawhi, around 8 to Harden. So I'm kind of flip-flopping these guys in terms of interest. Like, it's not that I love Charlotte, and it's not like the stochastic sim loves the Clippers, but I'm getting a little bit more of Charlotte. The site's getting a little bit more of the Clippers. On the other end, Charlotte, very similar story then for Charlotte. 16% to Poku were in complete alignment. Trey Mann, a little bit more popular, but that's not really for me. Misic, 12% exposed. Brandon Miller, 9. Grant Williams, 7. Miles Bridges, 6. Just a lot going in for this Clippers-Charlotte game. Not what I was expecting. All right, 170 people in the door. Hit that like button if you haven't done it yet. The Philadelphia 76ers are 11-point favorites in Toronto. We have a 218 total here. Sixers have their same standard issue guys out for right now. Toronto, on the other hand, a little bit different. RJ Barrett is questionable for today for return to competition reconditioning. So It looks like we might be getting RJ Barrett back, but the more important thing is playing the 76ers. Great matchup here against Toronto. Defense has been very bad lately. 10% ownership coming into Paul Reed and Buddy Hield, around 15 for Oubre and Harris, and 27 coming into Tyrese Maxey. It's even more on the FanDuel side. And I'm getting here. I'm 2xing Tobias Harris. I'm neutral on Maxey. I'm over on Paul Reed. I'm over on Kelly Oubre. It's hard to not want to get to Philly here just because of how bad Toronto has been. You know, I've got Maxey at almost 1.25 fantasy points per minute in this matchup. It just looks good. And I'm very confident Stochastic Sim is going to be with me. And they are. Tyrese Maxey, 46% exposure coming out of the Sim. Buddy Hield got to 27. Tobias Harris got to 14. Single digits for a couple other guys. I think the moral of the story here for Philly, we want to pay close attention to Maxey. Right around a 30% usage rate, right around a 30% assist rate. I'm a much bigger believer in Tobias Harris, it seems. I can handle that, though. I'm a Toby guy. But Maxey's the dude you want from Philly. That's for sure. I got fired. Not seeing it on the Lowry side. Only 4% coming out of the Sim for Stochastic, and I only got to 3%. Not really the guy that I have my eye on. We'll take a look at Toronto now, since they have potentially RJ Barrett coming back. And if Barrett is back, that really makes it hard to get to Toronto. Only Javon Freeman-Liberty got north of 10% ownership. We got Jordan Nwora with some positive leverage and a decent optimal. I didn't get more than 5% of anybody on the Raptors. You know, their implied total is not very good. We can start there. If RJ Barrett is back, that's a giant chunk of usage coming back into the team, taking all sorts of shots away from the rest of these guys. So I don't really want to prioritize anything from Toronto, and I'm not really expecting to see it here in the Stochastic Sims. Maybe Freeman-Liberty. Yeah, 9% Nwora, 7% Freeman-Liberty. Not a single player on the Raptors made it to 10% exposure. Not a team. Not a team. Seymour, I've never... I don't even know of any that I would tell people to read. Anything about statistics would be great. But nothing about fantasy sports on its own. All right, Miami Heat, 10.5 point favorites in Washington, 217 total. Obviously a fantastic matchup for the Heat. They are a slow-paced team. They're facing the number 4 team in pace. They gain close to 3 possessions over their average being in this matchup. Washington's defense is bad. Their injury report is a little weird today. I mean, Miami constantly has somebody out. Jaquez available, Love available, Duncan Robinson probable, but Caleb Martin is out for this one. 10% ownership coming into Bam, 10% ownership coming into Terry Rozier. 46% ownership on FanDuel coming into Duncan Robinson, where he's just 5K, shooting guard, small forward eligible. I barely got here to Miami. I think these guys are priced where they should be. I don't really find any value available at this point. And I'm not anticipating the Stochastic Sim giving much love to Miami either. There's just, these guys aren't that great at point per dollar plays. Okay, 14% exposure to Terry Rozier, 10 to Bam. If you're going to get to 2 guys, those are the 2 guys that you're going to get to, but you're not taking any big stance. I mean, I have Terry Rozier ranked 68th on this slate. There's just nothing here for Miami. Not a single guy getting to 5x value. We did get Terry Rozier to 14% optimal, which I think is something to keep an eye on. But I don't really like the Miami side. Now, Washington is really tricky to talk about right now. This could change pretty dramatically. Q-tag Rashawn Holmes, Q-tag Kyle Kuzma. whether or not those guys are in is going to change the outlook of Washington in a big way. Clearly a bad spot. Top 10 defense in Miami, bottom 10 team in pace. You don't have a lot here unless things start to open up. I like getting to Jordan Poole at 6,800. He's been a 1.1 fantasy point per minute guy over the past month. Really changed up his role, not playing alongside Tyus Jones. 29% usage, 27% assist rate. He's the guy I want the most, but this could look better if Kuzma's out. We could be getting to, like, if Holmes is in, he's not very interesting, but you might feel a little bit better about someone like Marvin Bagley if Holmes happens to be out. I only got to Kuzma. I only got to Poole. Everybody else, single digits or less, there's just not, it's not for me. Single digit optimal for everybody in the boom bust tool. Do we get anything in the stochastic sim for Washington? Nope. 6% of Poole, nothing else. This is reading for me. I've been liking Poole as a GPP option. I have very little interest in anything for Miami or Washington. Do it, Darwin. Do it, Darwin. It's really hard to watch this game at the same time as doing this show. I'm not going to lie. Let it rip, Mac. I wish I could play back this this game right now. Coffee's hitting the spot. I need it. I'm tired. Very tired. All right. We're at the halfway point. 6 p.m. games are done, which means it's time to talk about this. Ooh, ooh. Dinger is the promo code. You can get any one of our MLB DFS packages right now for 30% off. That's weekly packages, monthly packages, lineup generator, data only, Sims, Sims Max, whatever you are looking for. You're going to find a price point that works for you. Get yourself behind the paywall if you can, guys. I love our MLB stuff. We've got our top stacks tool. We've got the top pitchers tool. We've got the top batters tool for some more advanced data. Everything you could possibly want on the MLB DFS side, we've got it for you. And it's all 30% right off the bat. First month. Save a little bit of money. Come in, check out what we have. That would be my recommendation to you guys. So you see it on the screen. The link is in the description of this video. Sign up at Stochastic. Use the promo code DINGER. In the drive-thru right now, picking up a breakfast steak crunch wrap. That sounds great. I had a banana today. Been getting back into fruit lately. Well, just bananas. So I've been happy about that. Dallas Mavericks. Dallas 2-point favorites in Houston, 230 total. Interesting spot. So we got a Q tag on Luka Doncic right now. We're also getting Cam Whitmore back on the Houston side. That's actually pretty important for what we have here. Whitmore's probable, Luka's questionable, but Whitmore carries a lot of usage. And I think that really changes up how Houston ends up looking. For Dallas, we have around 10% projected ownership to Gafford and PJ Washington. Less than that on Luka, who's 12.6. Less than that on Kyrie, who's 9,600. I got the 10% of Luka, which I think is nice. 10% of Gafford and basically 10% of PJ Washington. It's a tough spot against Houston. They're a top 10 defense. They do play fast enough, but let's go, baby! Big goal. Big goal. Mohamed Salah, a gift from Allah. He came from Roma to Liverpool. He's always scoring. It's almost boring. Please don't take Mohamed away. Mohamed Salah, a gift from Allah. Oh, good day. Good day. 2-1 Liverpool. Let's get it done, baby. Let's get it done. Not a big stand on Dallas, guys. That's the moral of the story. If Luka is out, I shouldn't have to tell you what you got to do, because the answer is play a bunch more of the Dallas Mavericks if Luka Doncic doesn't play. That's what you got to do. That's what you got to do. Look at the stochastic sim. We're not getting anything here. 5% of Gafford. Couple shares of Luka, couple shares of PJ Washington. Nothing at all coming in for Dallas right now. Nothing at all. Now, Houston. Nothing here. 20% ownership to coming into Amin Thompson. Now, I have been under on this dude for weeks. I'm going to be under on him again here. I don't think it's any better for him to have Cam Whitmore around. Cam Whitmore projects for a 28% usage rate. The only person that projects for more usage for Houston is Jalen Green. That really changes this up. Not that Amin Thompson's some like ball hug or anything, but there's definitely less opportunity to go around for Thompson than like, I mean, just picture it like this. If Whitmore is back, you're just taking minutes away from Jayshawn Tate or Reggie Bullock. That's not good for anybody on Houston. Now, I did get to Van Vliet, 14%, but I'm single digits everywhere else. The guy that I want to point out is Cam Whitmore. He's 4,300. He's shooting guard, small forward eligible. I think this dude should be pulling, like, we don't have him in the ownership right now. I think he's sneaky one of the best plays today. I really do. I think he's the best value on the slate. We're talking about a guy that's a 1.05, 1.1, 1.1. I mean, this is a great matchup. Dallas is second in pace. They're 20th in defense. If you're getting to anything from Houston today, Cam Whitmore is the dude that you should be getting to. He's 4,300, shooting guard, small forward. I gave him 22 minutes. So it's not as if I'm being like optimistic, but I just want to get to Whitmore. Assuming he is in and everything is okay, that dude off the bench is going to look nice in this spot. Maybe 22 minutes is too lofty for him. I think he's live to play even more than that. You know, you can cut Jayshawn Tate fully and get him to 26, and it wouldn't surprise me in any way. I think his ownership is going to look very different as we get closer to lock. Now, stochastic sims. We got to 11% Amin Thompson and nothing else. You are going to see Cam Whitmore be a little bit more owned later today. Keep your eye on him. I think he's the sneakiest dude you can get to on today's slate. To Chicago we go. The Bulls are 8-point dogs in Minnesota, 212 total. Chicago has a Q tag on Caruso, a Q tag on Dosunmu. They obviously matter in a big way, particularly for both dudes. But as we look at it, we have no ownership coming in here. This is a terrible spot. Minnesota is a bottom 5 team in pace. They're the number 1 defense in the league. No one on Chicago is projected for more than 8% ownership. Not ideal. I only got to 5% of Caruso. This is gross. But like, if Caruso and Dosunmu both don't play, things look very different for Chicago. Even if you just get one of them out, you probably start having a conversation of like Torrey Craig as a value option. But for right now, there are no priorities from Chicago, and you shouldn't be looking at this team. Pete Wheeler, I actually didn't see that Tyler Adams goal. I don't really follow the men's national team that closely. I used to. I don't any longer. I don't know what changed. All right, Chicago. 9% of Drummond coming out of the stochastic sim. 7% of Caruso. No, I didn't, Skip B, because I didn't do content yesterday. Good try, though. Good try. Yeah. Stochastic sim, not at all getting to the Chicago Bulls. I think Minnesota is going to look different. Not really. So I got to 10% of Edwards, 10% of Rudy Gobert. Those guys are both getting 10% ownership, as is Mike Conley. I very aggressively bet Mike Conley's unders. But scattered amounts here. The Bulls aren't exactly a great matchup either. They're not a good defense, but they're not the bottom of the barrel. They're not the slowest team in the league, but they're also bottom of the barrel. Get a goal. Let's go, baby! Alua. Oh, we got a goal. Oh, love it. Oh, he's offsides. Oh, heartbreaker. Minnesota, not our team today. If they're in, you want Ant. If he's in, you want Gobert. Like every other day we've had lately, Anthony Edwards is questionable and Rudy Gobert is questionable. So keep an eye on that one. Keep an eye on it. Do we have any Minnesota coming out of the stochastic sims? Oh, rule him onside, please. %12 exposure in the stochastic sim to Mike Conley. 5 to Edwards. 5 to Gobert. Meh. It's just meh. But again, like, if Gobert gets ruled out, well, then you're going to have to play more of Naz Reid. If Anthony Edwards gets ruled out, you're going to have to play way more of Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Kyle Anderson and Conley at that point, too. Jaden McDaniels. So there's a lot that could be good here for Minnesota. But as I see it right now, no overwhelming priorities, just a little bit of filler. Diaz just barely offside for that goal. That would have been nice. Would have been nice. All right, 2 more to go here on this slate. If you haven't hit the thumbs up yet, please do so. Helps me out a ton. And if you've never signed up at Prize Picks before, do that if you want to. I love the pick'em sites. They're fun to play on. Odds Shopper in particular really makes that easy for you to play on the pick'em sites. So if you're going to grab one, grab the other. You get up to $100 on your first deposit at Prize Picks. It's a great bonus. They've got demons and goblins every day, free squares or at least discounted plays. You get tacos every Tuesday. Lots of stuff that can make your costs go down on Prize Picks. And you could also take some big shots. You're usually wanting to play like 5 and 6 flex play cards. That's going to be the best value for you. But if you haven't signed up at Prize Picks yet, do so and grab yourself Odds Shopper as well. I think that combination is going to get you some money. Here we go. OKC. So this is going to be a tough one to talk about right now because 5 seconds ago, we just got the alert that SGA is now questionable instead of doubtful. He was listed on the injury report right now as questionable. Unfortunately, though, I don't have him projected like that. So if Shea doesn't play, that's really the only way that we could look at this. 10% ownership to Dort, 10 to Giddey, 20 to Jalen Williams, another 10 to Joe, 15 to Chet, 15 to Aaron Wiggins. I'm getting a lot of these guys, and you should. Now, is it a great matchup against the Knicks? No, they're slow. They're good defensively. But Oklahoma City with no Shea is still going to have a lot of value. So I got to 16% of Aaron Wiggins. Got the start last time out. Happy to get there if Shea's out again. Chet certainly looks good. No problem whatsoever getting to Chet. I got to 11%. Jalen Williams is the guy you want to get to. He's the best player on the team if Chet's not going to be around. 23% exposure, 23% ownership. I'm around the field on Giddey. I'm around the field on Dort. There's a lot to like here for OKC, but the status of SGA changes everything. If SGA ends up in, you're probably not getting to much, if anything, of OKC. Now, as we look at the Thunder, you can see what the impact is in the stochastic sims if they happen to be able to play today without SGA. 69% exposure to Jalen Williams. 45 to Josh Giddey. 33 to Chet. 31 to Wiggins. 19 to Joe. 13 to Lou Dort. Think about how much exposure we're getting to here if SGA ends up out. Massive amounts of OKC. Now that's more extreme than what I'm getting, but I don't disagree with it. This spot looks so good. When you just take off someone of SGA's ilk, everything changes, and the price tags here haven't changed enough. And don't forget, like, Josh Giddey's been playing out of his mind. 1.35 fantasy points per minute over the past month for Josh Giddey. That's a massive, massive performance for him. But as it stands right now, you kind of want to get to like every part of their starting lineup in a big way. Now for the Knicks, they have an interesting injury report today. I want to make sure that I hit on those details first. Alec Burks is probable. Isaiah Hartenstein is probable. Mitchell Robinson is questionable. I'm getting to 30% of DiVincenzo. I get to a lot of DiVincenzo pretty regularly, but he plays 36 minutes. Other than Jalen Brunson, he's probably going to take the most shots. And if he gets hot from three, that's massive. I think OKC's defense is certainly worse with SGA out. So I'm getting to 30% of DiVincenzo at just 8% ownership. I'm neutral on Hartenstein, and I'm a little bit over on Jalen Brunson, who played massive minutes last time out. His minutes had been down over his past like 6 or 7 games. Brunson played 43 in OT, but call it 38 in regulation. He hadn't played 38 minutes since the 14th and hadn't really played the big minutes that we had seen since prior to his injury. So I want to get to Brunson. I think he looks kind of sneaky at 9,500 in this spot here against the Thunder. But DiVincenzo, that's my I want to get to this dude in GPPs guy. Now, if we look at the Knicks in the stochastic sim, 25% exposure to Hartenstein, 13 to Brunson. So that 13 to Brunson is in line with what I'm getting to. We got to a bit of Boyan, and we essentially just full stop faded Dante DiVincenzo. I'm just a much bigger believer. He's a fantasy point per minute guy. I actually think that looks a little bit better in this spot because I think this matchup is enough of a pace up spot for the Knicks that Dante DiVincenzo gets a bit of a benefit for it. But no major stand here other than Hartenstein from the stochastic sims. Final game. And this one's really tough to talk about right now, particularly on the Golden State side. The Warriors are 8.5 point favorites in San Antonio. Q-tag Kuminga, Q-tag Klay Thompson. You guys should know that's pretty tough to break down. We're talking about 60 minutes and 60 minutes of starters. Gonna need that news. 13% ownership coming into Draymond, single digits to everybody else. I got to a little bit of Klay, but nothing crazy. I'm not anticipating seeing the stochastic sims getting to Golden State in any major way. 1 share of Klay, 1 share of Steph. There's just nothing going on here at all. So, but if Kuminga and Klay end up out, then yeah, we're going to have a bunch of value, and we're probably going to start getting to an $8,500 Steph. Right now, not so much. Not so much. And then finally, we get to San Antonio. Final team for today's slate. Oh, now they've got an interesting outlook, and we're going to be talking a lot about San Antonio. No Keldon Johnson. No Jeremy Sohan. We're talking about needing to fill like a new 55 minutes from San Antonio, and we're changing up some ownership quite a bit. 36% ownership coming into Malachi Branham. I got 77. 15% ownership to Chetty, Vassell, Trey Jones, Victor Wembanyama, 10 to Blake Wesley. I got to 20 of Vassell, 25 of Champagny, who's got 15% ownership. I'm neutral with Jones. I'm neutral with Wemby. It looks so good. So good for San Antonio today. Matchup's fine. Warriors defense is whatever. Warriors pace is whatever. But you got to get to Malachi Branham. He's 3,500. He's point guard, shooting guard eligible. You usually see him pick up minutes. He's the first guy to get a big bump when you start missing one of those main guys. But 77% exposure for me to Malachi Branham. He's the best value play on the slate, and it's not close. It's not close. He's my number one dude today. And spoiler alert, you're going to see that here too, I believe. San Antonio. Oh, you're not. I was wrong. 41% to Chetty to start the day. I'm more of a Branham guy, but I think Chetty is definitely a guy to keep your eye on. %31% exposure to Wemby. I don't think anybody's going to be mad about that. That's a big stand and the preferred pay up option for today. 25 to Jones, 21 to Branham, 20 to Blake Wesley. Now, I got to way more Champagne. I got to way more Vassell. But the key takeaway for San Antonio is you got to get to them a lot. They are 130% owned. This is the chalk team of the day. This is the most owned team on today's slate, and they should be. Starting lineup will be very important as we get closer to lock. Yeah, Thanksgiving is the best holiday. No doubt. Number one with a bullet. Darweezy. Good work, brother. All right, so let's take a look at the full exposures on Stochastic Sims for DraftKings and the main lineup. And we'll run FanDuel and we'll get out of here. 69% to Jalen Williams. We're going to need him to have no SGA. 50% to Maxey. 40s for Giddey and Chetty. 30s for Buddy Hield, Chet Holmgren, Aaron Wiggins, and Victor Wembanyama. Our number one lineup in the Stochastic Sims. Blake Wesley, Terry Rozier, Buddy Hield, Chetty Osman, Victor Wembanyama, Josh Giddey, Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren. Get yourself some OKC if there's no SGA. And then finally, let's run our FanDuel lineups and see where we stand. Yeah, best holiday for sure, Thanksgiving. Can't beat it. All right, we got our player pool done for FanDuel. Let's run the lineups and let's see where we end up. Hope you guys have a good weekend. Hope you guys had a good day. I hope you have a good rest of your Easter. If no one told me it was Easter, I would never know. But I hope you guys have a good day. I'm going to go watch Arsenal Man City after this, hang out around the house, do some chilling. It's 70 degrees and beautiful. Can't beat it. 4th of July is all right. I'm not a big fireworks guy. Growing up, fireworks were not used a lot. My uncle blew his arm off as a child from fireworks on the 4th of July. So it was always a touchy subject for my mom. So we rarely watched like big fireworks shows. So I've never been as big of a 4th of July type guy because I always had a very different experience. Yeah, Ron, whole arm to like, elbow somewhere in this area. He was cleaning up a fireworks show from the night before. He was I'll get the age wrong. I'm going to call it like 15 or 16, 17, somewhere in that range. I don't remember any longer. I mean, this was like 40 years ago or whatever. But yeah, he was part of the cleanup crew, and he picked one up that was still hot or live in some way, and it went off. So he this is a crazy story. Wherever he was like a mile and a half or so back to their house, something like that. But, no cell phones or anything whenever this went down. He walked back to my grandmother's house, his mom and dad's house, without his arm until they were able to get him to a hospital. Kind of crazy. All right, FanDuel. Top lineup. Tyrese Maxey, Trey Mann. Duncan Robinson, Buddy Hield. Jalen Williams, Paul George. Kelly Olynyk, Poku. And Chet Holmgren. And if we favor the top 150 lineups, your top exposures on FanDuel to start the day. Duncan Robinson, top of the list. Tyrese Maxey, second. Freeman Liberty and Bam in the 40s. And then Buddy Hield, Victor Wembanyama, Trey Jones, Bruce Brown, Kelly Olynyk, all in the 30s. Yeah, it was a wild story to like learn about when I was a kid, and then like to grow up with it too. He actually got a pretty decent insurance settlement, but he spent it on a car and put a lot of it up his nose, so he had very little to speak for after that. But he should have been in a pretty good shape. Didn't work out that way. But that's all we got here, folks. We're done, man. Games are set. 8 games in the books. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Hit the like button if you haven't done it yet. We're back tomorrow doing it all again. You guys know the drill. Every single day during the week, strategy show, contenders, prize picks. You cannot beat it. Enjoy your Sunday. Happy Easter to everybody that celebrates. You guys are the best. Shout out to Prize Picks for sponsoring. I'll talk to you guys later. This is the NBA Strategy Show.